The 40 years of Chicago's leaders have recognized that our policies toward civil immigration matters help to prevent and solve crimes. Put simply, any actions that amplify fears of deportations make Chicago more dangerous. Those fears cause witnesses and victims to avoid cooperating with police. The cooperation of all people, regardless of their immigration status, is essential to achieving the city's goals of reducing crime and pursuing justice for victims. When there is trust between city's residents and the police, undocumented immigrants come forward to report crimes to local law enforcement and provide information that helps the police solve those crimes.
That is an absolute lie. Do you want to know why when people say, people here who are born in America, they commit crimes at a higher rate? In some areas, that's true. But you know what really happens? People who are here illegally, who are keeping to themselves, right? They're good people. I'm not some of these people that there's a lot of these knee-jerk reactions. Oh, we got to get rid of them all, blah, blah. I'm not one of those guys, right? I recognize the value. I understand what's going on. I would have done the same thing. But, Matt and I talked about it last night. You wouldn't have done the same thing? If you're next door, you're starving, your kids are starving, you wouldn't have done the same thing? Hell yeah, you do the same thing. 100%. I would also recognize, I put myself in a position where if I get caught, it's on me. That being said, the reason the numbers are lower in certain areas, not all areas, is because people that are here illegally, they don't want to call the cops. That's why, like, Trente Agua and all these gangs are able to run roughshod in certain areas on these people because they understand they're terrified to call the police. Because police means involvement with people who are law enforcement, and they're worried they may be in trouble. So it's just easier to give in, which is not right. And those people that, quote unquote, want to help, your goal apparently is to protect everybody. And when I hear, the statistics of this or statistics of that, settle down. All right, Brandon, nobody buys what you're selling. You're full of crap. Nobody buys it. This is the problem with the Democrat Party. When I hear stuff like that, when I hear stuff like from Mayor Wu, who already has enough issues this week because first thing she did after a police shooting, talked about it yesterday, guy chases people trying to stab them into a Chick-fil-A in Boston. Off-duty officer tries to de-escalate. There's escalation, de-escalation, tries to de-escalate. He eventually has to kill that person. And the first things that she does is she apologizes to the person that was trying to kill other people. So that already put her in a situation where even people in Boston are like, really? She comes out today, though, and says, hey, you know what? You guys are welcome here. You're all family, right? You deserve to be here.
You belong here. This is your home. Boston es tu hogar. Boston, 这里卡有，这是你的家. This is our city. We are the safest major city in the nation because we are safe for everyone.
I want safety for everyone. That's why the worst first is what they focus on. That's why catching the bad people is what they focus on. But instead, what you do is you take this bizarre path of, no, we're not going to help. Now, if I'm the local police, and I've got buddies who are cops, and I say, look, we don't want to be the immigration police. I said, no, that's not your job. But if there's somebody in custody, like if there's a guy that you picked up on warrants for speeding tickets and a bunch of unpaid stuff, and you picked him up, and the feds call you and go, hey, you got Bell the Basher, right? He's there, Bell Basher K, right? The notorious Basher. He's wanted for federal charges, and he's a citizen. Are you going to kick him out the back door? You're not going to do that. You're going to transfer him. But you play this game because that's what it is. And my question's always like, I would ask Wu, and the problem with a lot of this stuff, like today, when you see stuff in front of the cameras, a lot of it is based on the 5 or 7 minutes that people will take asking the question so they can grandstand. But my question is simply this. Who's this for? Who's that for? Who's that playing for right there? Because it didn't work. You guys aren't in the White House. And one of the big reasons, besides the fact that guy had lost his marbles, is because you guys allowed endless droves of people to come over here, mostly unvetted. And if they were vetted, at best, it was minimal. Who's that for? I mean, it's not for me. It's not for the average person, Democrat or Republican. So who's it for? Why are you doing this? Because that's what they feel they need to do. And they feel that, hey, we are the state and the city and we should be able to resist because it's part of the resistance movement. And we're not going to cooperate. And because we're not going to cooperate, we're getting points apparently. It's mind-boggling. But I shouldn't be surprised. I've done this for quite a long time. And it really became a bigger issue when, well, obviously, Trump. Everything is with Trump. Everything is with Trump. Last night, had it been President, Smitherson, Republican, kind of dull, and he would have had that little kid up there, they would have cheered. They talked about closing the border and getting everything going in the right direction. They would have cheered. But because it's Trump, they want to resist because maybe that's what they think their power is. Dick Durbin.
I wouldn't have necessarily done all the things that were done, but I understand the emotion. He's offering showmanship and bluster and bullying. We need to provide real solution and avoid taking the bait.
That wasn't any conscious strategy. In terms of responding to that speech, I think there are better ways to do it. Stick with the basics.
Look, I believe firmly that should be a room of decorum. Now, that said, I've never seen a speech before where a president trolls, heckles, demeans, and degrades people actually sitting in front of him.
Well, first of all, yes, you have, because it's Donald Trump. And it's kind of one of his jams. I was like, that's kind of my calling card. I mean, I'm not saying it's not. That's like, I do other things, but, I've been known to. And who did he heckle? Well, he heckled Elizabeth Warren. Really? Because this is one of my favorite things from the whole Elizabeth Warren thing. Because this was about war. Remind you, this, again, is about war. Why that started is because Trump talked about Zelensky, Ukraine. It's about war. And she reacted when he called her Pocahontas.
Senator Warren, what did you think of Trump calling you out by name?
I actually hit a nerve when I applauded the United States support of Ukrainian patriots. And if that hits a nerve for Trump, then it's worth sitting through the rest of that speech.
Thank you, Senator.
Your name is not Pocahontas. Your name is Elizabeth Warren. He made fun of you. That's not your name. It's not a nickname that you want to be saddled with. Like, oh yeah, Pocahontas. It's not. It's all show. You don't think they're show? Everybody's show. That's unfortunate what our politics has become. It's become show. Everything's a show. They all run to their cameras. They all do stuff. They all, and that's the way you talk to people nowadays. Like last night, Slotkin gave the rebuttal, which is, we were talking about how awful that is. That never comes off good because you're not in front of a live audience, right? Like they put you in a room and they turn on the camera and they say, oh, a whole bunch of people are watching you. And then you do your little thing. There's no reaction to it. There's nobody around you. You're not getting feedback. And it's all prepared. And if you're not good at prepared stuff, it comes across. I would have said, well, no, our reaction's all going to be online. You go find out what our people have to say. And they're going to show you online what and how they feel. But instead, they had her do it. And again, it's a thankless gig.